Welcome, friends,
to the How to Heretic.
I am Uncle Mark.
And I'm Uncle Dan.
And this is your user's guide to life on the outside.
That's right. Leaving religion is the first step into a larger, better world.
But it can also be a scary world. Things work differently now.
Never fear. That's why we're here.
We're your audio uncles. And with help from good friends and experts in all sorts of fields,
we're going to share the stories and seek the knowledge to build a great life.
After all, you only get one that we know of, so you better make the most of it.
That is our pledge.
Boom. Well, Uncle Dan.
Oh, I'm looking forward to this one.
We got a good show this week.
It's going to be fun.
You take the good, you take the bad, you take them both. And then at the end, we've got Seth Andrews.
Who is neither good nor bad, but chaotically neutral.
Seth is chaotically neutral. Seth is good.
Seth is good.
Yes.
Very good, actually. But before him, Uncle Mark, you are going to tell us all about an evil descending upon our land.
Yes, we're going to talk about a certain phase in our history that is one of the bad ones, other than that one good time. It's a lot like what we're living through now, but it was even stupider, or maybe not. I don't know. We'll talk about it.
We'll talk about it, and then I'm going to bring in. You and I are going to have a fight.
Dan and I you'll hear it in the segment. Dan and I have a little conversation about how he's fucked up our show, but it's not important now. What's important now is that we talk about our new friends who are listening. We actually have quite a few of you are on board, are now newly on board, because you may have heard us on the God Awful Movies program. That's right.
That our good friends Noah, Heath, and Eli produce over there. And if you haven't listened to their show ever, we've referenced it a few times. But if you've never listened to God Awful Movies, then what the hell are you doing?
I can't speak for Dan, but it's about my favorite podcast out there on the television. But you'll hear at the beginning where Eli, I'm clearly holding a knife to his throat, so you'll hear that bit.
yes. But do go listen. I mean, so we, a couple weeks ago we did a show about Samson.
Yes, the new PureFlix.
Well, you and I did a show just about
right.
the biblical Samson.
That's right, yeah.
And then we launched into Samson, the PureFlix awfulness that was on the movies.
Yes.
And God Awful Movies had us on to make fun of that.
To give that epic piece of poo the send-off into obscurity that it has earned.
Right.
But we want to thank those guys. We love those guys. They've been very generous with us.
And a lot of you are listening to this because of that. So
so welcome.
Enjoy the show, and let's do this thing.
Let's go.
Uncle Mark.
Yes, Uncle Dan.
There are good mystical, magical beings proposed in the universe, and there are bad magical, mystical beings proposed in the universe.
And none of them are actually real.
No. We're not talking about real things.
Yes.
We're talking about proposed magical entities.
Yes. Beings from literature, beings from mythology, beings from Dungeons and Dragons, that sort of thing.
Being as that is the case.
Yes.
There was a thing, a phenomenon
right.
that sort of rotated, that revolved around one of these beings back in our youth.
Now, you kids might not be familiar with an obscure creature from mythology by name of Satan.
Could it be Satan?
It could indeed. So today we're going to talk this is kind of an extended oppression expression because there's something that was abroad in our land when Dan and I were young men. And
as if that was ever a thing.
And some of our younger listeners might not be fully aware of a very fucking peculiar piece of American history.
Very recent American history.
Very recent and
far too recent for this to have actually happened, and yet there it is.
And as I will demonstrate, an ongoing issue.
Indeed.
In this country. So in the late 70s, early 80s, something happened in this country that we collectively now have decided to call the Satanic Panic.
And that was the birth of disco.
that was truly Satan's work. But
that's not what we're talking about here.
No, the Satanic Panic is also called the International Satanic Conspiracy Myth. Is kind of what academicians, which is a word, call it.
Pretty sure you made that up.
So it's a pretty fascinating thing, and I thought, I lived through it. Dan and I lived through this time.
Yeah, because we're your older uncles.
That's right. And
unless you're older than we are, in which case you lived through it too.
My neighborhood was very consumed with some of this bullshit, and we may get into that, we may not.
We're getting into it.
But let me lay the groundwork a little bit.
Sure.
So, yeah, there was in the post-1960s America, there was a little bit of a sense that society had come unmoored.
Yeah, all the kids were growing their hair long and having sexual relations one with another.
The age of Aquarius, and there was the New Age, and Vietnam was a fucking catastrophe, and kind of the button-down conservative America of the 50s was kind of gone.
It was ruined. We had it perfect.
Everything was just fine.
The races knew their place.
Yeah.
The women were cooking meals.
The gays were on television.
But as straight fathers of
in a televised closet,
children, so like everything was perfect, and then it all got fucking ruined in the 60s and 70s.
So things were a little kind of out of whack. Which when things get out of whack in society, there tend to be, and this goes into ancient times, there tend to be kind of panicked reactions. So movies like The Exorcist and The Omen were very much in the zeitgeist. Those recently happened. In 1978, the Jim Jones suicide murder massacre in Jonestown had claimed 900 people. So anything with a whiff of cult was very suspicious and scary to people. And at the same time, if you remember in the 70s, there was this weird rash of kind of occult-ish style high-profile murderers, like the Zodiac Killer, Ted Cruz. There was the Son of Sam.
Just to be clear, this podcast does not claim that Ted Cruz was the Zodiac Killer.
We can prove it.
Just that he probably was, and you all know it.
And he knows it, and he's listening, Ted.
We know who you are, Ted
Cruz. Turn yourself in.
So
there were these weird high-profile killings, and conversely...
Son of Sam,
who said a dog told him to commit the murders.
Right. Evil magic was abounding.
But conversely, there were very positive things going on because of the success of kind of the women's movement and women, in the 60s, kind of finally taking their place in society, demanding that they don't have to stay home, that they can enter the workforce, etc.
Fake news.
As the women's movement kind of created a space to talk about an ongoing problem that every society has, which is child sex abuse, which had been very, very kept very under cover all these years in America. It just wasn't dealt with.
Oh, they used covers?
So now, you don't want to.
You get cold otherwise.
Cody, cut this out. So, so there was the conversation about the rights of children and sexual abuse against children began because their primary caretakers, certainly at the time women, were more free to have conversations about what they cared about. However, costs of living were going up, and more women were entering the workforce.
Right.
So whereas like 1 in 8 children prior to like 1980 was in daycare, 1 in 4 children was in daycare in 1980.
Yeah.
So
I was.
At that same time.
At that very moment.
Were you in daycare?
I was in daycare. But my daycare was actually that of a neighborhood, a neighbor lady who took in a few kids.
Well, a little later we'll talk about some memories you might be repressing about that time.
You're not kidding.
So stand by.
You're not kidding.
So also, Anton LaVey had founded the Church of Satan in 1966 and had for years been flicking the conservative amygdala with his satanic Bible and his black masses. So with Reagan, this kind of strident and energized religious conservatism was writing the feel-good, regressive, sunny conservatism of Ronald Reagan.
Morning in America.
And part of Morning in America was televangelists.
Yes.
So all of a sudden the TV exploded with people like Jim and Tammy Faye Baker, Pat Robertson, Jimmy Falwell, the The extremely, I wish they were all dead. Extremely.
Oh no, it was Billy Graham who just died.
Yeah, Pat Robertson is dead on the inside.
Right, but Billy Graham just died
He's
last
dead
week.
all the way through. And of course, the super, super horrid Jimmy Swaggart. So these guys had hours of television to fill. So the topics would eventually swerve from old-timey sermonizing to what's wrong with the country, what's wrong with
the
society.
Bad things that are out there.
And you can imagine what that mostly was youth culture, which was heavy metal music. It was Dungeons and Dragons. It was movies.
Kids shaving their heads into mohawks.
Yeah, I guess that was happening at that point.
Yeah.
They were less freaked out by for our purposes, it was less the punk that freaked them out and more your Ozzy Osbournes.
Twisted Sister.
Your Twisted Sisters. And then there was the rise of tabloid television like Oprah and Geraldo in 2020, and they just had to feed the beast. Mm-hmm. And these guys were willing to kind of bend the facts a little bit to get a juicy story.
Well, you just put anybody makes a juicy claim, you just throw them on the internet.
Just put them on TV.
On the TV and on the internet. Good
so
Lord.
That was kind of where America was at the moment.
Yeah.
So into that combustible societal kindling, a couple of first-class quacks tossed a book called Michelle Remembers.
Oh, dear.
And Michelle Remembers, and I'm going to get to why it's just amazing, is a, air quote, non-fiction account of how a psychiatrist uncovered the hidden memories of a girl who had been the victim of years of satanic abuse and torture. It was written by apparently a psychiatrist named Lawrence Pasder and his patient, later wife, red flag.
Oh, my God.
Michelle Smith.
Yeah, that's not acceptable.
Not typically done. So this book recalls events that took place in Victoria, British Columbia in the 1950s. Now, Victoria is a city I have a little more than a passing familiarity with. I've spent quite a bit of time. Next project, I'm going to be there for quite a bit of time. It's sleepy by Canadian standards, right? In the 50s, it would have fucking been Mayberry.
Right.
So here's what was going on, according to these recovered memories in the 50s in the Mayberry of Canada. Michelle claims Michelle was raped, tortured, sliced, had horns and a tail sewn to her body. What? Had half her teeth pulled out and the other half drilled through. Witnessed the murder of dozens of babies, dozens of adults. Was in the room with loads of other corpses being sewn back together for some reason. And
this is Human Centipede. I saw this movie.
This is the Canadian Centipede. The book culminates in a massive 81-day black mass. 81 days where Satan, Jesus, and the Virgin Mary all make appearances.
Wow.
And where the devil reads a poem she recalls with great clarity. And I'm going to read that in a second.
Oh, yeah, we need that poem. Obviously.
All this occurred in a cozy, isolated Canadian town in the 50s. So, no corroborating police reports support a 20th of these missing persons claims.
No, of course not. But they were in on it. That's the thing.
See, that's how conspiracy theories work, kids.
Yep.
Any proof against is proof of.
Yeah.
So her childhood neighbors remember a happy, normal girl who did not go missing for months at a time. Her school attendance records were near perfect, and class photos, all in on it. Class photos show her smiling with a full set of perfectly normal teeth. Now, Dan.
Yes.
I would like to read to you a poem.
Well, I'm also going to object to her story because I know from my own personal experience that when you sew a tail on yourself,
yes,
there is physical evidence of that for years, even when once you've removed it.
Right. That's why you can't go to Burning Man anymore.
It's why I'm not allowed at public pools.
That's one of the reasons you're not allowed at public pools.
It's the least reason that I'm not allowed at public pools.
All right, Dan, I want to read to you this poem.
Okay. Thank you.
Now, this poem is the work of Satan.
Oh, well, obviously.
This poem is written by the fallen one.
Mm-hmm.
Lucifer.
Beelzebub.
The prince of the morning.
Darkness himself.
The king of hell. God's opposite number. Humanity's greatest enemy. All right?
All right.
You ready for
No, none of those intros said anything about excellent poet.
Well, I will leave you to judge
Okay.
the excellence of this particular poet.
Okay.
Let me see if I can get through this. Okay. Out of dark and fire red comes a man of living dead. I only walk the earth at night. I only burn out the light. I go where everybody's afraid. I go and find the ones who've strayed. All the darkest forces, they are mine. The darkest forces all entwine. 1 and 1 equal 2. These are bones that once were new. Add them up, you'll think it's right. Add them my way, it makes a fright.
I will not kill them in their house. I will not kill them with a mouse.
Lucifer!
I will not
Dan.
eat green eggs and ham. I will not kill them, Sam I am.
The greatest enemy humanity has ever had. I think we're fine.
It's an incantation. Those are very powerful things.
So if I'd paid to go to an 81-day Black Mass and that was the headliner, I want my fucking money back.
I feel like you just cursed every audience, every listener in our audience.
I want my fucking fetus back. I want my soul back. So now that you've heard that poem and the claims, the poem's the worst part of the book. It's not the baby killing. It's that fucking poem.
Right.
This fucking book swept the credulous nation, and because Americans are clearly stupid people, they believed the insane claims, and law enforcement used it as a sort of Bible
Yeah.
for dealing with the suddenly realized gigantic Satanist conspiracy that was inhaling innocent children in every neighborhood in America.
Well, I mean, if you've got that much craziness happening in small town Canada, clearly it's happening much, much worse in big cities.
Oh, for sure. You can imagine what's going on in Kansas City.
Yeah.
Or River City.
St. Louis.
All the places in the surrounding Mississippi area.
Right.
So, as we discussed, women putting their children in childcare, the burgeoning childcare industry was a favorite target. Pazder, that guy who wrote that shit pile, and his now wife, Michelle, were brought in.
With all of her tooth and tail scars.
Yes, with the scars. That quickly. She explains away why she was not covered with the scars from all this mistreatment.
Right.
Because as she was being dragged around the Black Mass by Satan's tail,
Okay.
the Virgin Mary appeared to her and said, "I will make you beautiful," and cured all her scars. So that is the forensic proof you need.
Here's what's amazing about this. This is a psychologist or psychology doctor. This is a person with those credentials writing this book. So theoretically, it's supposed to have that kind of weight of science behind it.
Yes.
And yet he's very clearly invoking magic.
Right.
And as though that's a legitimate part of the story. Like,
Yes.
if you are listening to a young person or a person tell you all of these memories,
Yes.
and they start to tell you that they were dragged around by Satan's tail,
Yes.
the correct answer is not, I believe you.
It is. I think Thorazine could work for you.
It's, yes, let's find the drug cocktail that
Yes.
makes your brain not have obvious breaks with reality.
Right. And not only all the magic claims, but the mountains of physical evidence that would exist of this. Not a fucking stitch. Nothing.
No.
Okay. So people were putting their kids in childcare, and all of a sudden, this burgeoning industry got the laser beams turned on it.
Right.
Because, what's going on with these people? Why do they want to pay to take care of our children? That's weird. That's creepy. So,
Right. Which in some cases it is.
So these two idiots, Pazder and fucking liars, and his now wife Michelle, were brought in. This is impossible to believe, but it's true, as expert witnesses on something called the McMartin preschool case in California, which turns out was the longest and most expensive trial in U.S. history.
Oh, my God.
One prosecutor quit 2 years in, 2 years into the almost 12-year case.
What the fuck?
The prosecutor said, these two are implanting memories in these children. It's fucking insane. I want nothing to do with this. The prosecutor that replaced him is like, yeah, it's pretty obvious that's what's happening, but we're all panicked, so we got to see this through.
Oh, my God.
And the lead investigator from the state, it was conducted by an unlicensed therapist, but she was the holder of a commercial welding certificate. And that's the fucking truth. Key McFarlane, who began the use of anatomically correct dolls to coach the children, to show them where exactly a person would have sex with them, even though they were 3 and they had no idea what any of that meant.
Right.
So of the 400 interviews, she concluded that 359 had suffered satanic ritual abuse. She coached the children through talking about how the McMartins turned into witches and flew, how they had flushed children down toilets.
Now you're saying the word coached, and I'm going to push back a little bit on that.
Encouraged.
Here's the thing. One of the things that we know, and one of the things that's the most important thing to talk about in all of this, is that therapists and people who are talking to these troubled humans,
Yes.
can, without meaning to,
Yes.
coach them into saying things that are, into quote unquote remembering things that never happened to them.
Correct.
And so even if they didn't mean to like get a specific answer out of these people,
Right.
they're just the way that they lead the conversation can be more than enough
Right.
for the person, whether they're a child or adult,
Right.
to quote
Children-
recover a memory of a thing, and then that memory becomes real.
Exactly
the memory
right.
becomes locked into their brain as just as much as any
Real thing.
memory.
They'll go into a courtroom and swear an oath that it's true.
They'll cry
Now, children-
at the thought of it because they have a visceral now memory experience
Right.
of this thing.
Now, children are particularly vulnerable to it because they want to confirm what an authority figure is telling them.
If you want to have fun, start planting memories in kids around you. Nothing like
Oh,
this.
nothing could.
Nothing like this, but tell them that they went water skiing when they were 4 and see if you can get them to...
How could that go wrong?
Do not do this.
And we'll talk about this another time, but what you're talking about was literally peer-reviewed, tested science where they did experiments just like that, and it worked with college-age kids, where they began to, very complicated, but they began to have these false memories that they swore were absolutely real.
Right.
And you're talking about people with the best of intentions,
Right.
talking to vulnerable people, hurt people, whatever. A lot of these people, I will demonstrate, did not have the best intentions.
Right. So if this phenomenon can occur with people who are trying to help
Yes.
people, imagine what can happen when someone's nefarious.
Exactly right. So let's talk more about these nefarious people. So these kids were believed that literally the preschool people flew around as witches, and the court's like, oh my God, they fly as witches. They said that they had flushed children down toilets. They said that toilets.
Just examine the physics of the thing.
They said there was an extensive tunnel network under the preschool that led them to satanic temples.
Wait, I think this was from Harry Potter, wasn't it?
So ask about the physical evidence. Was there any physical evidence of this?
Hey, Mark, was there any physical evidence of any
It
of
turns
this?
out there wasn't, Dan.
Oh, shit.
Not a single one of the wild claims was ever confirmed, but the case dragged on for almost 11 years.
They never caught him flying on video?
So these poor people were utterly destroyed, but they were ultimately acquitted. The hysteria kept growing. In Bakersfield, a woman with a history of severe mental illness coached her 2 young granddaughters into believing they'd been part of a ritual sexual abuse in the community. The hysteria eventually landed 36 people in jail for long sentences with zero physical evidence. Now, at this point, and we're talking about like now,
Right.
nearly all of those convictions have been overturned, including that of a local carpenter named John Stoll, who spent 20 of his 40 years in jail.
Oh, my God.
Parents Scott and Brenda Niffen were each sentenced to 240 years in jail after their own sons were coached through coercive investigative techniques and overeager therapists to accuse them of child molestation. The children later recanted, and the parents both were released after serving just 12 years.
Oh, well, see, they basically served...
Right.
It was a day in the park.
Now, here's the quality of the people. Again, a welder, 2 fabulous liars that claimed a massive cult in Canada. This is kind of the caliber of people that were certified by courts to be experts. So,
Well, I just want to point out, you say these liars, and I still need to maintain that, like, it's possible that they were telling their truth. Because at that moment in history, we didn't know a lot about how this worked, and a psychologist could believe that he was coaching, he was probably doing a past, like a regression back into her past,
right.
And all of these things were legitimate memories that he was pulling out of her, and that's why they both They both may well have genuinely believed that this shit had happened.
I think that's theoretically possible, but we could spend more time talking about the Pazder, whatever the fuck he was, Pazder, the psychologist. Actually, a quick aside, he spent time as a physician in Africa, and he worked among some tribal regions in Nigeria where he saw very specific ceremonies going on.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Michelle, the subject, had never been to Africa.
Right.
But memories that, quote unquote, she was having of her satanic abuse had extremely specific Yoruba ceremonies going on. So, sure, you can say he had the best of intentions, but evidentially it looks like he was planting these memories, planting his own memories in there, or convincing her they were her own.
Right. I'm just saying, like, he could have been doing that without even thinking, without even being aware that he was doing it. Like, all of this could have happened, because that's what I'm getting at, is not that these are not bastards. They may well be.
Right.
But it's very possible that with the best of intentions, this stuff could have arisen. And that's something that now the fields of psychology and psychiatry are they have to be so fucking careful.
Right.
Because they have now, I mean, some of them have learned the lessons of this.
Well, I will demonstrate many have not.
Indeed.
So anyway, the caliber of the experts that were being certified to speak about these things in court, there was a case in Austin in the 90s where the court qualified an expert psychologist to tell the jury they should believe in satanic child abuse conspiracies because Tituba, the Caribbean slave who started the Salem witch trials with her fortune-telling, was a ritual child abuser. In San Diego, a nationally prominent psychiatrist testified that small children's rough play with toys was evidence of ritual abuse because children today who sing Ring Around the Rosie are reenacting traumatic memories of the Black Plague of the Middle Ages.
Well, yes, Ring Around the Rosie does reference the
His
Black
claim
Plague.
is they were recalling it.
Somehow they were retrieving memories of it from the ether.
And you talking earlier about how in a conspiracy, everything is confirmation of the conspiracy.
Right.
In countless other cases, experts with leadership positions in organizations such as the sadly acronymed APSAC, or the American Professional Society on the Abuse of Children, have claimed that when children seem happy and say that nothing happened, their cheerfulness and denials are proof that molesters wiped out the kid's memory of abuse. So a kid saying I'm fine is proof that they're not. So
right. If they say they're not fine, that's also proof that they're not. The kids are not all right.
Correct. Totally correct. So there's a bunch of personalities that were the founding fathers of the Satanic Panic, like Lawrence Pazder and his wife Michelle Smith, a guy named Mark Warnke, who was claimed to be a satanic high priest, but really he was, this is true, a Christian comedian, which is the work of Satan. And he,
I mean, that might be a better proof of Satan than
that tells me Satan is real.
Yeah.
His book was found to be a complete fabrication.
Wow.
There's a kook that was there's a movie, you guys have to see this. There's a schmuck cop turned pastor named Gordon Coulter, who saw money to be made off this stupidity and made a hilariously terrible 1994 training video called The Law Enforcement Guide to Satanic Cults, which you can watch on YouTube. Or better yet, listen to episode 109 of God Awful Movies, where they give it the thrashing it deserves. But that video features a true wackadoo, another guy claiming to be a former satanic high priest who clearly has no fucking idea what he's talking about. Eric Pryor, who after he became a Christian to do this movie, I guess. After that, he became a Wiccan high priest of some kind before becoming a Christian pastor again. And then just last year was hit and killed by a truck. So he lived he died as he lived, being kind of an idiot.
None of the things saved him.
All the gods. So kind of wrapping up, the panic sort of petered out in the mid-90s, but it remains a problem to this day. If you guys are familiar, and I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with the HBO documentary series of movies called Paradise Lost, which focuses on the West Memphis Three, who were three teenagers who were railroaded into prison for the murder of three boys with no physical evidence. Basically, they were picked up because they were weird and they listened to metal music. One of them was developmentally disabled.
This is a true story.
Do you not know about the West Memphis 3?
No.
Holy shit, dude. If you haven't seen Paradise Lost series, it's incredible.
Okay.
So these kids spent decades, and they took this developmentally disabled teenager.
Right.
They told him that he did it, and he basically he was so scared.
Right.
He just repeated back to them what they were telling him. They had their confession, locked up these 3 kids, and they just got out like 5 years ago.
Jesus.
With a massive public campaign, and the
Right.
HBO trying
to get them out.
Yeah, and so there was DNA evidence exonerated them finally. So, as we were talking about the recovered memory thing, the most insidious ongoing effect from this lunacy is the quack psychiatric science of recovered memories and multiple personality disorders. Quacks and religious opportunistic psychological professionals began convincing people of all stripes, like had been done with the children in the daycare cases, that they had repressed memories of either being abusers or abused, convincing some people they had over 20 personalities, including some that were programmed to be assassins that were sent to murder their own families.
Now, I remember the 80s, the 90s.
Yeah.
This hit pop culture hard. Mm-hmm. There were so many movies about split personalities. There were so many. There were there were movies about people had recovered memories left and right and all sorts of things. Like, this was big.
Yeah.
And I as far as I knew, I knew somebody who had multiple personality disorder, and this was real psychiatric science.
Yeah.
At the time.
Yeah, and like you said, it was so in pop culture. There was a movie called Sybil about a woman that had multiple personalities, and everybody just took that as fact. Geraldo Rivera, he's awesome, guys. Really,
yeah, I mean, don't anybody shit on that guy.
He did a 2020 episode, like an hour-long special about the Satan worshipers, which said they're in every neighborhood, they're in every town in America, and they're all connected. They all because No, it's easy to keep a conspiracy quiet when there's only like 1.5 million people involved in it.
Right. Well, then you've got, for every one guy that wants to spill the beans, you've got 3 guys who are telling him not to.
Right. That's good. It's like AA. You have a sponsor.
That's right.
That will kill you.
that will ritually sew you to some other human.
So these people that were, in a couple cases, convinced that they were there to kill, had been sent to kill their own families. Some of these psychiatrists forced them into hospitalizations that lasted for years.
Yeah.
And an investigation of these practices revealed that the fraudulent practitioners would single out people with huge insurance policies.
Oh, shit.
And convince them that they were in danger. So we're talking about nefarious people.
Yeah, that gets really nefarious.
Convince them that they were in danger, endangering their families, and even forcibly institutionalized children under 10, some of them for 5 and 6 years at a time.
Jesus.
And there's a Frontline documentary I'll include in the show notes if you want to get your blood boiling about that. It's fucking crazy. And when the investigator finally confronted these, I think it was in Chicago, these practitioners in Chicago, they said, maybe you're the high priest they're talking about.
Right.
So they basically, it was a fucking witch trial. It was a witch hunt.
Wow.
So, and he was like, okay, bring it.
Yeah.
And I think one of those doctors is still practicing. Anyway, we'll get into each of these fucking fraudulent, dangerous post-panic therapies and their practitioners, probably in subsequent shows in our little watch out for woo section, one at a time, because I think it's really important that if you're seeking therapy for whatever reason, like this woman who ended up spending 6 years institutionalized went for help to quit smoking.
Oh, shit.
Right. And her family is destroyed.
Oh, my God.
So we're going to get into these things at a later date a little bit, each like recovered memory, multiple personality. But I just think it's important that people understand if you need psychiatric assistance, I think it's important. You have the right to ask what kind of practices these people use. Do they believe in recovered memories? Do they believe in multiple personalities? It's a relationship of trust.
Right.
And you have a right to kind of know what you're getting into.
To probe a little bit.
So that's it.
You're hiring someone to do a job for you.
Right. To poke around in your head. Make sure you want that person poking around in your head.
And if things start to feel uncomfortable or whatever, now therapy is an inherently like sort of uncomfortable scenario in general, but we highly recommend it. But if things start to feel like something's wrong,
Yeah.
if they're starting to like, really probe you, lead you to something that may not actually be there, then just find somebody else.
Right. And you can be super upfront about it. So about, asking how they practice, what they practice. But in subsequent episodes, we'll talk about it specifically and maybe give you some language to take into those offices.
Right.
But, here at the end of the day, I think this is all bullshit. But if it's true, I think it's worth it for the poetry.
Well, there is that.
Don't you?
I mean, what we need is to find these cults and find more Satan poems.
I think you need to suffer for your art.
Where are these guys? There's all this talk about victims. Where do I join the cult?
Yeah.
Where do I go?
If anybody has any information at Dan, if you would.
Yeah, please
so you can join the cult. But anyway, that, my friends, is the Satanic Panic.
Yeah.
It is an insanity that gripped us, and we still have not fully come to grips with as a society.
It's what happens when you mix your religion with your science.
And your law enforcement. Knock it off.
Never do that. Let's move on.
Hail Satan. Well, Uncle Dan.
Yeah.
I think it's time we discuss the elephant in the room.
Indeed.
Isn't it?
You and I are having an argument right now.
We're in a fight. Your uncles are in a fight.
Your uncles are mad right now.
Well, we're in a minor fight. So
it's not really a thing.
So the Graveyard of the Gods, look, the Graveyard of the Gods is a rich and wonderful place. It has a lot of plots left to fill.
Right.
And as time passes, they will all get filled in, inshallah. But, you go ahead.
Here's the problem.
Yeah.
We conceived this segment called Graveyard of the Gods, and we haven't buried a god for a minute. But we called it Graveyard of the Gods, and the idea, the notion was that we were going to take all of these gods that people used to believe in and point out that no one believes in them anymore, and that therefore your god that you used to believe in is just sort of one of many.
He's
gods.
on death row. He's on. Right. They're on death row because it's coming.
I have decided that we're going to talk about a god that is decidedly not dead yet.
If gods can be, if the health of a god can be determined by the number of believers, this is a very much alive god.
Right.
But I take your point that he is very, very interesting.
Yeah, so we're just going to talk about a god because, I mean, he's no more or less real than any of the rest of them. I will say this, he has been dead.
Oh, is that right?
So I'm going to tell you the story of the son of Lord Shiva and his wife Parvati. Now, Lord Shiva and Parvati are two of the Hindu gods.
Yes.
Shiva, a very powerful god.
Yes.
So there's various stories about how our young god came to be, but I'm going to tell my favorite version, which is that Parvati was bathing. She was taking a bath, and you know what? She doesn't like to be disturbed during her baths. So
in the Ganges, she was taking
No, she was in a bathroom.
Oh, okay.
She was in a room taking a bath. She had a tub. She was taking a bath.
She valued her privacy.
Indeed.
Yeah.
And you know what? That Shiva sometimes would just come in and just burst right on in. So she gathered up the dirt.
Well, if Shiva's anything like me,
and he is,
Indian food probably makes him need to get to the bathroom frequently. So look, he's only human. Oh wait, he's not. Okay, go on.
And also, she definitely would not want him doing that while she's bathing.
Dropping a used tandoori in the toilet. Gotcha.
So she gathers up all of the dirt from her body and maybe on various all the goop that she's applied to herself that has come off in the bath.
Ew.
And and makes the boy. She makes a son.
Oh, what?
And breathes into him life.
Out of body slime?
Out of body goo, she makes a son.
And this is the origin of Gwyneth Paltrow's product line, Goop.
Well, that's right.
Where you put a jade egg up your puss. Right?
That's down the road a bit.
I'm glad you shared this story with us, Dan.
Let's not put the cart before the horse.
Move on.
Nope, there's more.
Okay.
There's more.
All right.
See, because Shiva's So anyway, she makes this boy and instantly tells him, "Hey, go guard the door and don't let anybody in."
His first job in life.
His first thing that he ever does or hears is that he has a job, and that's to not let anybody in while she's taking her bath.
Boy, that's rough. The moment he's on the grid, he's got a job. Okay.
But he is he is faithful to this job.
Okay.
And up walks, who is it? Shiva. Hey, let me in.
He's got a newspaper.
I'm going to go see my wifey poo.
Right.
I like to jump in the bath with her.
And and I'm sure she was like, and who the fuck are you?
Right.
Weird little grease person.
Weird little bath boy.
Right.
What are you doing? And bath boy says, no, I will not let you in. And they have a back and forth. Yes, you have to let me in. I am not only her husband, but Lord Shiva. I am the great and powerful Oz.
Yeah.
Eventually, Shiva is so mad at this impertinent kid.
Well, also, the kid doesn't know who the fuck he is.
Indeed.
Right.
Shiva's so mad, he cuts the kid's head off. Murders him. Just straight up decapitates the boy.
Wow.
Parvati is not okay with this.
What the wind brings, the wind takes away, I suppose.
Yeah, so she gets all hella pissed off.
Yeah.
And decides she's going to just ruin all of creation. She's just going to kill everything.
Oh.
Everything?
Yeah.
Everything.
Everybody, everything.
All the things.
The world.
Brahma, who is the...
because he decapitated her exfoliant.
Right, indeed. The great creator is pretty worried about this and decides, no, we won't let this happen. What can we do to make this right? She says, you gotta fix my boy. You gotta make him whole again.
Yeah.
And then he's got to be worshipped as one of the greatest gods.
Okay.
So
hey, a deal's a deal. If she can get, if she can get that for the price, I say go for it.
She was threatening a lot.
Yeah, she was.
She had some cards in her hand.
She had a full touchdown. I don't know cards. She had a full Monty.
Yes, indeed.
Yes.
So they believe her, and they send out Shiva's soldiers to go into the world and find apparently
a head and find a head. Are you kidding?
Apparently, you can't just put the head of the boy back onto him. So go out and find a head of a dead animal. It has to already be dead, facing north, and we'll put that on. So the first thing they find of a head that's facing north of an animal is an elephant, and bada bing, bada boom, Ganesh. So if you've ever seen the image, it's a very pervasive image.
Yes.
Of the elephant-headed god, sometimes depicted with 2 arms, sometimes with 4, up to like 16 arms.
A broken tusk.
And a broken tusk. That's a very interesting. I'm glad you know that.
Yeah, I do know. I know a little bit about Lord Ganesh.
About Ganesh.
That is it's a statement about vanity, no?
No, not necessarily. Well, okay, so like every single thing about the story, anytime I tell any story about Ganesh, there's 10 other competing stories, and they all have. So like, that was one story of Ganesh's birth.
Well, maybe you shouldn't tell so many stories about Ganesh because he's not dead, and it's not appropriate for this segment. But go on.
You know what?
You tell too many stories about Ganesh.
I'm not telling. They tell too many stories about Ganesh. The royal they.
There are too many stories about Ganesh.
There's so many stories about Ganesh. One of the stories about his tusk, sort of the most popular story about his tusk, is that when they were writing the Vedas. Now I got to figure this out. Sage Vyasa. Oh no, it was set out to write the Mahabharata, which is a very long, sort of epic poem.
Used to be kids at the airport that would just hand it out to you.
It would just
Oh no, wait, is that the Mahabharata?
No, that's the Bhagavad Gita.
That's the Bhagavad Gita. Yeah,
it's all just funny words.
But it's all long.
Yeah. So Sage Vyasa wanted someone to be his scribe,
right?
To write this all down. He was going to recite it from memory, and his scribe was going to take it down. Lord Ganesh decided he agreed to be to. Ooh, excuse me.
It's the Indian food.
He agreed to be the scribe for this.
He agreed to be the Oliver Cowdery.
Right, exactly. And was ready. That's some inside baseball right there. If you're not a Mormon, you don't know.
Yeah.
So join up to Mormonism.
Listen to Bryce's podcast for a while. You get it.
Anyway, so he's going to do it, but he has a condition, and that is that the sage Vyasa cannot stop. He has to recite it continually. This entire long epic poem. To which sage Vyasa agrees, but with his own condition that Ganesh cannot has to listen and understand every single word he writes down, like the meaning of all of it.
All right. Well, he's got big ears. He can hear well.
This is his trick to be able to slow Ganesh down, because he knew he would need a break, so he would say some very, very complex passages, and then Ganesh would have to stop and think about it, and then he could catch his breath.
Then he could go in his mom's bathroom and drop a deuce.
Right.
And the story begins anew.
And so what ended up happening was that Ganesh was furiously writing everything that the sage was saying, and at one point his feather pen broke.
Oh, my God.
And he cracked off his tusk and used that as the pen.
Well, how about that?
And just that's one of the ways
you work in the medium you have.
Right.
Yeah.
Other stories involve him pissing off another god, who then throws an axe at Ganesh.
Oh my God!
Who the axe was created by his father Shiva. So out of deference to his father, he didn't want to just dodge and avoid being hit by the axe, because that would be rude.
Right.
His dad made that axe, so he just took it in the tusk. And
the old taking it in the tusk.
That's how you do.
Yeah.
So this is our Ganesh. He's the unblocker of obstacles.
That's right. Yeah.
The remover of obstacles, and also the placer of obstacles if you need them.
Is that a fact?
Yeah. If things are going a little too well for you, like we needed to all pray to Ganesh about Donald Trump and put some obstacles in that motherfucker's way. Because if things are going too well for you and your head's getting too big, or you're being a dick, Ganesh will place. So I feel like he takes an obstacle out of one person's way and puts it in another.
There's a finite number of obstacles, and they just need constant moving. And
yeah.
I think it's important to know he's also the god of white American women in their 20s who go to yoga.
Yes.
So
very, very yes.
If you see a Ganesh in a white American girl's house, young men and young women, you know there's a certain flexibility attendant to that statue. So just proceed advisedly.
Yeah, proceed quickly and with direction.
Namaste.
That sounds great.
Namaste. Are you done with Ganesh?
Sure.
Or is there more?
I mean, there's infinitely more. I mean, obviously, this fucking thing goes back thousands of years and is always a little confusing. If you see him, he's generally depicted either sitting in a lotus position, or he's dancing, or sometimes he's riding on his trusty steed, his mount. Now, it's
a bumblebee.
Each of the Hindu gods, has an animal attendant.
Okay.
His dad has a cow.
Okay, thus the sacred nature of cows.
Yes, indeed. Yes.
The sacred and delicious nature of cows.
Nandi is the name of his dad's cow.
Okay, Nandi.
I don't know the name of this critter, but his mount, Vishnu has an eagle, for one.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
To say another one.
Yeah.
He has a mouse.
Oh, I knew that. That's funny.
Isn't that delightful?
Is that where the old
elephant and mouse?
Yeah, the old folk thing that elephants are afraid of mice.
I don't know. I think I did see an episode of MythBusters that showed where they actually ran a fake mouse in front of some real elephants, and those elephants actually did freak out.
Really?
So there may actually be something to elephants.
I wonder why they'd be
being
afraid of
mice. But in this case, no, he's got a mouse friend who carries him around. And then there was
carries him around.
Yeah.
Okay.
He just it literally transports.
That's not a mouse. That's a tapir. That's a giant fucking.
It is
Amazonian jungle rat.
It is an adorable little mouse, and what's great is that they work together. So if Ganesh, removes big obstacles,
Yeah.
there's also a little guy to remove a little obstacle.
Oh, for
Little
cute,
mousey.
like a little piece of cheese you can remove.
There was one story where where he's riding on his mouse. He had been going from house to house eating cakes. Ganesh.
Yes.
The cakes were offered to him for his birthday.
Oh, so he was entitled to these cakes.
Yes, indeed. Though one wonders if maybe this was one of those. Yes, of course we'll give you a cake. Sort of like one of those things where he would go around beforehand and be like, my birthday's coming up, and yous wouldn't want anything bad to happen to your bakery, would you?
It was a protection racket.
Right. It does kind of have that smack to it.
I'm a Leo, and it's July.
So here it comes.
Yeah.
Just fair warning.
I like that gods of other cultures could have signs of the zodiac.
Sure.
Why not?
Why the fuck not? He's eating all of these cakes, and his mouse trips on something. He tumbles to the ground, and all of the cakes burst out of his stomach.
Jesus.
At which point,
he is made of flaky skin and soap scum.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, there's not a lot of tensile strength.
It's a tender area
to his body.
So now, wanting to avoid embarrassment, he stuffs all the cakes back into his tummy, and then grabs a snake and ties that around his tummy to hold it all together.
Yeah,
and so oftentimes you'll actually see him depicted with a snake.
I think that's why it's important that we trust in Eastern medicine.
Ayurveda is real, people.
Yeah, these are their remedies
it's based on snakes holding cakes
for a burst stomach.
Yeah. So there you go. Pray to Lord Ganesh. He's, as Mark is so willing to point out, still around.
Yeah. He's quite healthy as gods go. If you got nearly 2 billion followers.
Yeah, and it's not just the Hindus. It's the Jains are looking to this guy. Like the Buddhists love him.
Interesting.
In the region.
Yeah.
He's a very popular guy. Though a lot of the stories are also about him just slaughtering other people.
Oh.
As is the case with so many of the Hindu gods.
Yeah, it seems a very, very violent pantheon.
You know what I'm going to do?
Yeah.
This wasn't a Graveyard of the Gods segment.
What is it?
This is from the Garden of the Gods.
The Garden of the Gods.
I just plucked one from the Garden of the Gods.
I love it. We have new segment, people.
It's a new segment.
Yeah.
Are you less mad at me now?
I'm not mad. It's not an anger thing, Dan.
I'm kidding.
Everything in its place. Everything gets in a fucking box. That's how podcasting fucking works. Everything is organized, right?
Oh.
All right, let's move on. I'm fine.
Your uncles aren't mad at you, sweethearts.
I'm fine.
It's a
made me spill my fucking drink. All right, let's move on.
Okay.
Uncle Dan.
Yes.
Well, we've had quite a week for people who have not only began listening in for the first time, but wow, what a slew of new supporters and patrons we have earned.
Yeah, a lot of people ponying up to not only get the early version of our show.
That's right.
Which they can get as patrons.
A couple days early.
But they also there will be there's some bonus content. I think that's going to start this week.
In the pipe, yep.
That will, as soon as I can figure out how to post it, that will start. So that's fun. You can people donate at whatever rate they want to.
Yeah.
If you donate at a high enough rate, you may get your own saint.
You can get your patron saint that you can take with you to the grave and beyond.
Your own that only belongs to you.
Yes.
Or we have one person going to get that. We have a heaven that we need to bestow.
That's right.
Let me start by thanking a bunch of people. Thanks so much to Jared, Adam, Tabitha, Harrison, Stacy, Nicholas, Dr. H, Pathless, Ben, Raging Rocks Ranch.
Yes.
Thanks so much to Tori, Daniel, Rune. Thanks to I Hate Being Awake, to Tankard, Kevin, Sarah, Greg, Aunt Anna, Mary, and you're going to have to give a patron saint off the cuff to Quasi Alamodo.
Yes, Quasi, and I had a little brief encounter on Twitter, and in that time, I feel like I got to know,
the nuance
of Quasi Saint, and of course, Quasi Saint, and I think it's obvious to everyone is Saint Milford of East Edmonton, and Saint Milford is the patron saint of all things turbocharged and people who spend their days looking after squids.
I think one of his miracles was riding the roller coaster at the mall 4 times in a row, wasn't it?
That was his first miracle. There's 4, Dan.
Yes, indeed.
You only need 2 anymore. It used to be 3. You only need 2.
He's got 4?
4.
Wow.
Yeah.
What
and
a great saint.
They're all roller coaster based, but we won't get into it now.
What a great saint.
So thanks Quasi. That's we appreciate your patronage and your sainthood.
Yes, indeed. And I owe a heaven.
Oh boy.
We got a heaven.
Oh boy.
For Ivana Tinkle.
Ivana Tinkle.
Okay. So to get your own heaven, you have to be a donor at the $10 per episode level. Now, we don't expect this of everybody, but
no.
But Ivana has earned this heaven.
For these elect few.
So, Ivana Tinkle.
Lay it on me, Dan.
Welcome to your heaven. Punderland.
Oh, fuck.
You brought it on yourself.
Oh, fuck. Let me out.
Everyone else, I am so sorry.
Let me off this roller coaster, St. Milford.
Yes, Ivana, your insistence on semi-clever wordplay has landed you in Nerdvana, where everyone is just as keen as you to quip and jibe. You'll all put the dumb in the eternal kingdom as you spend your eternity on constant lookout for ways to mangle language for an incredibly small payoff. Punderland has things to do, of course, but only if they'll serve your quibbling needs. You'll be greeted by the relative who taught Bill Gates to be a nerd, his great-aunt, Pearl E. Gates, who will show you around.
I'm in agony already.
I am too. Believe me, this hurts me as much as more than it hurts you. Oh, no. Maybe you'll go to the casino to try your luck with a pair of dice, or to the confectioner's for a Shangri lollipop. Oh, no. For breakfast, you'll eat life cereal just so you can know what comes after life, which may well be chapped lips requiring eternal bliss stacks. You might change your name to, say, Al or Mort, only to change it back to Ivana and feel the thrill of exaltation or immortality.
Jesus.
Don't forget to buy a corsage for your date to the promised land. Just know it's perishable, so you can't return it, Ivana.
Oh, dear God.
Jesus Christ, this hurts so bad.
How much time is left in this?
I know. Everything is comfortable in Punderland. Go ahead, the angels will say. Caress the furniture. Seraphiner material in all the world. No. Try a couch squeeze or a chair rub.
Oh no!
Oh yes. Even your heavenly hosts are punsters. Perhaps you'll meet famous people. Jimmy the Fallon Angel.
Oh God.
Noah the Archangel.
I quit.
Mike Tyson with his famous lisp parrot.
This is just the worst.
I'm so mad at myself right now. Yes, Ivana Tinkle, for your eternal sleep, you've made your own heavenly bed, and now you have to lie in it. As Uncle Mark likes to say, rest in pieces.
Oh, is it over?
It's done, finally.
But Ivanka Tinkle, for you,
Ivana.
It is never over.
It's not. That's just
oh my God!
permanent.
I called her Ivanka Tinkle. I'm so sorry.
That's our president's friend in Russia.
Oh Jesus, that's his daughter wife.
Yeah.
Well, that's amazing, Ivana Tinkle. You have earned that,
and I apologize to the rest of you.
And unfortunately, there is no respite, no escape. These are binding contracts signed in blood.
Yep.
So thank you so much for your patronage. Thank everybody.
Yes.
This has been a huge week for us. And again, we just want to give a shout out and some love to our friends Noah, Heath, and Eli over at the Gamcast.
Yeah.
They are a treat. And if you're not listening to that show, you're fucking crazy. We have 2 other episodes of that show that we did, which were a hoot.
Yeah.
You can see on our appearances page. Go check it out.
And if you want to become one of the people that gets all that early access to our show and all the bonus and that helps make this show possible, you can go to howtoheretic.com and you can click on the patron button. And that will get you there, and hopefully we'll make it easy for you.
That's right. And if you can't do that, give us some love. As a ton of you have this week on iTunes or with a review on any of your pod blasters. And man, we love you. Thanks so much. This is great.
Moving on.
Well, Uncle Dan.
Yes, sir.
You're one of the old men of the atheist podcast internet world.
I'm mostly just old. Sure.
You've been around. You guys have been on the air for TGIA for years and years.
Yes, indeed.
Now, there are even elder statesmen more elder than you.
What?
I think.
Is that allowed?
Well, I didn't know if it was technologically possible if DARPA had invented the internet yet.
I started my podcast with using the pony trail. What is it?
The punch card system that we had. So I believe we have a guest today who might have your record beat.
We have one of the elder statesmen of the heathen world, of the atheist community here in these United States and around the world. One Mr. Seth Andrews, host of the Thinking Atheist podcast, auteur, author. He's written several books that we'll get to. Seth, thanks for coming on the show, man.
Thank you for the invite, man. It's good to be here.
Yeah. You, sir, have been activisting in the atheist community for a little bit now.
Yeah, I started back in 2009 in the spring with the website and dipping my toe into my post-religious life and trying to be a part of conversations about my former faith and faith in general and religions around the world. And here it is, 2018, and I'm still kicking.
Yeah, if that's dipping your toe, man, I would love to see what a deep dive looks like for you, because that is, because you went all in.
I think you're all the way in the deep end now, Seth.
Well, yeah. Some would say I've drowned. I've got a whole litany of religious people surrounding me, and they're all trying to bring the prodigal home. I'm dead in spirit, but the Lord's going to revive me and bring me back into the fold. And they're just claiming Jesus's power of rescue over my life. But I never really started this with any real plan. I think at first I was emerged from this cocoon of religiosity, and going online was my way of trying to find and cultivate community and to get ideas out there and maybe try to challenge some other people and encourage some other people who might be going through some of the same stuff that I was. But I didn't have any idea where this path would take me. I didn't know that almost 10 years later I'd still be doing this and have had the opportunities that I've had. And so I'm tremendously honored to be able to, still be around. It's nice to be here,
Yeah. And what a beautiful butterfly you've blossomed into.
Now, people might notice that you have a wonderful speaking voice, and that might be an intro into your past life.
Well, my voice is actually kind of shredded right now. I feel like I'm about to lose it. But I've been in the studio most of the day. I've been doing some voiceovers. I conducted an interview for the show we're going to air in March this morning, and I've just been, but thank you for the kind words. It's one of those things where my voice changed when I was in school, obviously, and I had a pretty good grasp of language. My father is deaf. He does not hear. But he did not learn sign language. He at the time felt like there would be a stigma. He didn't want to be someone who was, he felt like there was a stigma to being the deaf guy in his job. And so, unfortunately, I think for him, he decided that he was just not going to learn to sign. So we all had to be able to speak in a way where he could read our lips, where we used economy with our words.
I see.
And so in order for him to be able to understand us, we had to be able to properly use language to enunciate our words. And honestly, in kind of a twisted way, his disability benefited us, and especially in my case, made us pretty good communicators. And so it was a pretty easy segue for me, especially since I was a religious kid and a fan of Christian music, and I was a student leader and all these things, that I would get one of my first jobs in Christian radio in 1990.
Yeah.
I would graduate sort of through the ranks. And so, right now it's kind of shredded, but it served me pretty well over the last 3 decades.
So yeah, you were a devout Christian. You did your whole you've told this story many times on other shows, but I think our listeners, there's a lot of people who have. A lot of our listeners have never even met someone who's really left the church, or who have ever really talked about somebody who's left their church before, or talked to somebody. So talk a little bit about. So you're working at Christian radio. You're you're playing the hits. You're spinning the Debbie Gibsons or the whatever. I never got into
Debbie
it.
Gibson,
I don't
is she
know.
Christian?
I don't know.
No, I get what you're saying.
Who am I talking? Who am I thinking of?
Limitation of whatever was going on in pop and rock radio. That's what we played in Christian music. Yeah.
Yeah. So talk about something happened a little, about 10 years into your DJ career. What went on there?
It's many people wonder how did you buy it so long? I mean, when you look back at the stuff that Christians believe, especially Bible literalists, you're like, you really believed in Adam and Eve and the talking snake and the floating zoo with Noah and all the animals, and you believed in giants and all of these things that the Bible talks about. You really bought all that, but you have to understand, when you're raised as a small and trusting child, and every authority figure in your life, whether it's a parent or a teacher in a private school or a Sunday school teacher or a pastor, they all say it's true and it's real and God does miracles, and it's all absolutely, you can take it all to the bank, and
Sure.
cultural reinforcements all around you, which it was here in my home state of Oklahoma. You just, you don't really question it. In fact, you feel like you're not supposed to. If I question it, well, that's, I don't want to go to hell. I don't want to screw this up. So, and there's kind of a smug superiority that comes with feeling like you have the answer, while so many other millions across the world, billions around the planet, they are all deceived.
The poor saps.
I wish they had the knowledge, the answer that I have discovered. Lucky me. And so I was an insufferable kid. I was one of those guys who was a little bit too sanctimonious. I was cocky and in a very Christian kind of way, and so anyway, I got into Christian radio and segued into video production in 2004 with a company whose clientele was mostly churches. We went out and did fundraising videos for churches all around the country, and over the course of many years, there were some major things. And about 1,000 small things that, as I got older, just weren't jiving with the real world. The biblical teachings didn't wash. When people were painting the happy ending into the tragic headlines, that didn't wash. The fact that Christianity couldn't agree with itself on the basics of Christianity, that didn't wash. And I became more and more bold and less timid about tapping on the glass as I approached middle age, and finally just sort of went on a walkabout. I just decided, let's go find out. And it was, believe it or not, it was a debate video by Christopher Hitchens. I was up at the office doing some graphic work, and it's kind of brainless work, so I'm able to play stuff in the background. And I played this debate between Christopher Hitchens and Rabbi Shmuley Botiak. It's a 90-minute exchange at this 92nd Street Y. And I walked away from that thinking, holy cow, I mean, what he said made so much sense. And this doesn't jive with the Bible. And the rabbi just got his ass kicked. And, then I watch more videos, debate videos. I hear other names I'd never heard of before. Richard Dawkins, stumbled upon the book, The God Delusion, read it cover to cover, and it's like this avalanche of evidence began to really push me forward. And by the time, we hit the fall of 2008, I realized and said out loud that I was an atheist, much to the chagrin of my family and friends who are believers.
So were you still, Seth, on the air, producing radio stuff and speaking as a Christian broadcaster when this was all falling apart around you?
Well, I left full-time radio in 2004 because it was kind of a shrinking business. Radio these days is mostly computers and syndication, and I had this fear that I was going to get handed my pink slip. And, like all these other Tulsa radio guys I'd seen had been doing it for 20, 30 years. And then before you know it, someone's like, well, why are we paying him a full-time salary when we can do this?
Right.
And then they'll just kick him out. And I decided to take charge of my future. So I left radio, but I was doing kind of part-time radio in what's called voice tracking, meaning I would lend my voice to stations in other markets for other reasons.
Right.
Sure.
Some of those were religious stations. But, I was producing a lot of videos that were raising funds, sometimes to the tune of millions of dollars for churches who were doing church growth campaigns, building renovations or a new facility from scratch, and they would use the company that I worked for to try to sell that vision.
Right.
And as I'm going from church to church, I'm more and more feeling like an imposter. I feel like I'm a hypocrite. I don't know what I'm going to do because this is my career. And if I lose my job here, who's going to pay the mortgage? And
Right.
I'm getting kind of long in the tooth to go back to school. And,
Yeah, you're not a kid when you're having your road to Damascus moment at a down the road in life a little bit. And
it's scary. You think the consequences of this are just shaking everything up. And it's for that reason, the first 2 years of me being the admin of the Thinking Atheist, I did so without ever showing my face because I was terrified that I was going to get fired from my job and lose everything, lose my house. It wouldn't be able to pay the car payment or the utilities. And it took me a while to navigate through.
yeah, I mean, it's hard enough to go through a big faith crisis like that if you just work at, a car wash. But it's doubly bad if it's a Christian car wash and you're getting right and you
I
lose
can't
your
imagine
job.
what pastors go through. These
Right.
guys they've been preaching for 30, 40 years, they're approaching what they would think is retirement. And they realize I don't know how to do anything else.
Yeah.
And I have people who rely on me. And what am I going to do now?
Yeah. Well, and
that's
Dan,
why
sorry,
the
go ahead.
Clergy Project exists, which is essentially it's a community of anonymously joined pastors who are secretly atheists who are supporting each other behind the scenes.
Right. Pastors, priests, it's got rabbis, all sorts of things. We actually interviewed a rabbi who
Atheist rabbi.
who deconverted and went through a thing. Speaking of deconverted, hey, you wrote a book called that.
Oh,
What a great transition I just did.
That was smooth, dude.
Everybody? Huh? How about it?
that's very good. Yeah. Well, it's not good. It's not Hitchens. It's not, it's not like a deep book. I wrote Deconverted for two reasons. One is that I wanted to chronicle my journey out of the faith while it was still fresh in my head. And two, I was being asked by everyone, how does this happen? How does a guy who was a former Christian broadcaster, was, raised in a devoutly fundamentalist Christian home, Christian school, Christian churches, loved Christian music. I was a spokesperson for Youth for Christ as a kid. I was well-versed in the Bible. How does someone who is from the Bible Belt, who is surrounded by the faith, how do you become an atheist? And instead of having to tell the story to everybody, I just wanted to go here.
Right.
It's an easy read. This will carry you through it. And what's interesting is that the people who are navigating doubt and going through some of the same questions and concerns, they eat the book up because they feel like, oh, I'm not alone in this.
Right.
People who are lifetime atheists who wonder how in the world you ever believed it to begin with. It's informative for them because, it helps to paint the picture of kind of cultural reinforcement and childhood indoctrination.
Right.
However, when believers have asked me for it, my Christian friends have said, well, I want to know what happened to you. Most of them don't finish. Most of them start the book and they get to a point when they just say, I just had to put it down. And I find that very interesting.
Yeah. Well, they do the same thing with the Bible, don't they?
Yeah, they're like, you know what? This was just, uncomfortable for me, and I just couldn't. And I'm like, well, why was it uncomfortable for you? What bothered you the most? Why would you be threatened by one guy's perception and perspective and life story? And I think the fact that they won't get through it, they'll just put it away or give it back or throw it away or whatever. I think that's very telling as to how insecure they are about what they believe.
Oh, absolutely. They walk right up to an edge, and then they just have to turn back. I totally get that.
Yeah, I mean that's one thing. You know, I was a pretty deep believer when I was a believer in Mormonism, and yeah, I mean Mormonism. Growing up LDS, that's one of those things where you're actually specifically told everything that isn't with us is against us, and everything that is that asks any questions is anti-Mormon literature, and we don't read anti-Mormon literature.
Right.
So we only put things in our minds that are going to be positive and reinforcing and good, and nothing could be good that says anything negative about the church, right?
Yeah. Oh, it's interesting too. Whenever you would bring very credible evidence in regard to things like evolution, which is not in the Bible, obviously, and you would talk about the evidence for evolution, my religious friends were largely uninterested in that resource. They would just look at me and say, well, you're reading the wrong book, meaning that they started with the answer, and now they want to go out and find a quote-unquote scientist or historian or whatever to validate an answer that they already embrace, which is not how we do truth, right? If you're honestly living life, you don't start with the answer. You just start asking questions and you pursue the chain of evidence wherever it might lead.
Right. Well, that's tricky when you're trying to put square pegs into all of the round holes.
Yeah, but it's funny too. I find that to be, and we live in Mormon country, Seth, and Dan and I both grew up Mormon, and like you were describing your youth, where everybody around you, every single person, like my entire high school was Mormon. I don't know if there was a non-Mormon in my high school, and it was a public high school. But in this day and age, in the information age, to remain a faithful whatever is such a tightrope walk. I don't know how people, you're talking about avoiding things that are not faith affirming. I don't know how people get through the day without exposure to challenging information anymore.
Well, in my neck of the woods, the first three questions you're asked when you're introduced are, what's your name? What do you do for a living? And where do you go to church?
Right.
And it's just part of the culture. I can throw a rock from my house. I can probably hit 3 churches and they'll just ricochet off each other. And, and honestly, it's about community as much as anything. I think most of the people who attend Sunday go to meeting, they don't know what's in their Bible. They don't really care. It gives them comfort. They have friends and family there. It makes them feel like they're being a good citizen.
Yeah.
It's culturally reinforces what they think a good citizen, maybe even a good American is here in this country. And so, for them, it's about ritual and community as much or more than it ever was about the supernatural.
And it's about inertia too, isn't it? It's just, this is where you began and this is where you kind of stay. And I think that's...
And your parents will often say, well, this is how we raised you, which is what I hear from my own mother and father, Well, we didn't raise you to become an atheist. And I'm like, that's interesting because parents being stewards of their children, they don't own their children.
Right.
But there's an expectation. We raised you, therefore you should look like us, sound like us, vote like us, worship like us. And if you don't, not only did we fail, but you failed, or vice versa. It's just, it's a rigged game. And I always thought to myself, what a tragedy that you would want to raise little mini-me's instead of saying, let's find out who this kid is and let him or her be that.
Right.
Yeah, and I think that's a hobble that religion places on people, is the fear of the other and the fear of that free inquiry, and so you're fearful of your kid going out and going to Sarah Lawrence and smoking weed and learning something they're not supposed to learn, right? And so that's the antithesis of what I don't have kids, but if I had kids, I would like to think that I would be all about their inquiry and their development on their own.
Well, and not for nothing, but these are the people who raised you are the people who taught you to sort of to be who you are, and they gave you whatever tools they gave you, and if this is how you turned out, this is how they raised you.
Right.
Like,
I think, I've left the nest. Hell, I'm going to be 50 in a couple of months, right? I mean, I think I've earned the right to govern my own choices and to decide how I want to pursue, what's important to me. I know my own value system. If I'm not there now, I'll never get there.
no.
And so it's hard. It's difficult for many people. I spoke to a young woman on Google Hangout a few days ago. Her mother was very disappointed in her. She was getting set to go to college, and she's like, I'm afraid that mom's going to pull my college funding, or she's going to kick me out, and they're afraid to explore the doubts that they have.
Yeah.
And I want to encourage doubt. Let's pursue those. Sometimes doubt can be a helpful tool for determining what's true and what is not. So,
What could be a more helpful tool than that? Doubt is the fundamental root of all actual learning.
Yeah, it's the other side of the coin of curiosity, right? And so it's what propels inquiry, it's what propels exploration, creativity, and to stifle that, part of why there was not enough oxygen in the Mormon church for me growing up is I'm a very creative person, and that there was a community-wide attempt to really prune that down to an acceptable level. It was not really valued. Didn't have a lot of currency in my young life.
Yeah, I agree. Amen, brother.
So, Seth, last year you did a really funny, a great talk. I'm gonna encourage our listeners to go check out your YouTube channel. You got a whole lot of videos up there and stuff. I was looking over a talk that you did last year called "Christianity Made Me
Talk like
an Idiot." Yeah, that's the one. Which I think was delightful. Would you mind recapping a couple of the fun points from that? Because I just thought, you don't even think about it, but when you're in the midst of all of these beliefs that don't work, that don't hold up to any kind of intellectual scrutiny, you start saying stuff that is kind of stupid.
Well, and I never know how these speeches will go over. Like, I'll do some that I think, well, this one's really going to hit, and like I did one about the indoctrination of children, get them while they're young, and I did one about the copycats, where we talk about Christianity copying what's popular in pop culture, whether it's music or apparel or film or whatever. Mm-hmm. And we did one recently on the Satanic Panic, which I was excited about. And when I did Religion Made Me Talk Like an Idiot, or Christianity Made Me Talk Like an Idiot, I didn't know how it was going to go over. Well, I was in Vancouver, and I had Lawrence Krauss and Richard Dawkins in the audience. And, Dawkins he's so freaking British. He's just such a tough nut to crack.
Right.
He's very formal. He's one of those guys. I've interviewed him 3 times. I've bumped into him I don't know how many times, and he's always just like, hello. It's not like, hey, what's up, Richard? What's going down? So I didn't know how it was going to go over. And I did. Christianity Made Me Talk Like an Idiot. And Dawkins was just howling. I mean, the guy was laughing out loud, and it is such a gratifying thing, right?
Absolutely.
As a speaker, to see somebody who's so reserved, who was just taking the journey. And the speech really revolves around how even really smart people, when they are surrounded by insanity, can begin to speak and act in crazy ways, in ways that make no sense. People thanking an invisible magical deity for food that someone else planted and harvested and transported and sold and bought and prepared, and they ignore the cook. They ignore the human hands. They thank God for someone had a good day after chemotherapy. And I'm like, hello?
Yeah.
We talk about how so often we give God lip service while we really see people acting as if there is no God. I mean, if there's someone in a car wreck, what's the first call they make? It's not to drop to their knees right there on the road and call down God's divine healing. They're on 911, making sure that the paramedics are on the way. And I think that's a betrayal of how much people really do actually believe.
Well, and
they'll pray on the drive or in the waiting room.
Sure.
But the first call they make is to people,
Yeah.
Well, and it's so funny because when we see someone who actually does follow through that hard on their faith, I'm thinking of all of these parents that you read about who pray instead of getting their child the medicine that we know would cure them. Yeah. They're monsters. Like when someone actually does faith that hard, they're horrible, horrible people. And even believers, even most just remotely reasonable believers recognize that that's an awful thing to do.
In some ways, they're perpetrators. In some ways, they're victims. All the way around, it's just religion's the problem.
Yeah.
And, we talked about how that God, for many of these people, is like silly putty. They can make God whatever you want, and they have an answer for everything.
Sure.
Somebody has a remission of cancer. Thank God. If somebody has a horrible day, in our weakness, he is strong. God's using affirmity to cause us to trust him. If someone dies, God called them home. So now they're in a place where there is no cancer. And no matter what the scenario is, they have a God scenario waiting to explain it. It's an ever-moving goalpost. And if you call them on it, they're like, well, who are we to understand the mind of God? I'm like, well, I'd like to know. Right. And I don't think it's wrong to want to seek understanding. If God is going to create curious beings, he should be able to format his wishes and actions in a way where we could understand it, and it would make sense.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I saw, it's following up on that ambulance thing and thanking God when the chemo works. There was this thing on during the Ebola crisis where a U.S. aid worker had contracted it, and he was like every piece of technology and infrastructure in the Western world was mobilized to get this guy out to save him from the almost sure death, horrible death of Ebola. Every medical advance possible, helicopters, everything. And the first thing he did when he got up at his news conference was say, "Thank you, Jesus. It was God that saved me." And I was like, What an asshole, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, a plane crashes and 3 people survive and 192 are dead. What's the first thing in the headline? It says miracle.
Right.
And you're like, well, wait a minute. We've got some serious, ratio problems when it comes to how we define what miraculous is.
Yeah.
But people are desperate to, they want to paint God into the cracks, and they often do.
Yep. Those gaps that God's living in are getting smaller and smaller every day, aren't they?
And it's a good
They
thing.
are indeed.
And it's a good thing.
Indeed.
Well, Seth, thank you so much for coming on our show. We really appreciate having you, and you're doing the Lord's work out there in the world. Tell our friends where they can find you in all of the various and different places that you live out on the world and the interwebs and whatnot.
I host a weekly radio podcast. I also provide video versions of some of those exchanges. I do other types of video profiles of different activists and challenges and questions and just part of the conversation out there. But it can all be found at the main hub, which is the website, thethinkingatheist.com. I always try to explain to everybody that I'm not in any way saying that I am the Thinking Atheist. The Thinking Atheist is an icon, which reminds us all that we reject faith. We think faith is just a terrible way to figure out what's true. We want to reject faith and embrace reason. We want to think about the challenges and opportunities before us, and that's what the Thinking Atheist represents. So if you want to find any of my stuff, log on to thethinkingatheist.com.
And I'm just going to go ahead and put a plug in that you are a Thinking Atheist, and thank God you are.
That's right. Angels on your body, Seth.
Okay, I receive your anointing.
All right.
Thank you guys very much.
Thank you. Well, friends, that's it for this week's show.
Hey, we'd love to hear from you. If you have any comments about how damned hostile we've been to each other this entire time, you can write to us, howto@howtoheretic.com.
And you can also use that email address to send us any of your devil poetry that...
please do.
Maybe we'll read the best one on the show. If you can,
we need to hear more devil poems.
if you can match that amazing piece of art.
Yeah.
Or you can leave us a voicemail at 903-88-HOW-TO, which is 903-884-6986.
That's true. Hey, if you want to be a patron of our fine show, go to howtoheretic.com and click on that patron button, the Patreon thing.
Throw a couple coins in the kitty.
Sure.
And we have a ton of new Twitter followers this week, so welcome everybody.
Yeah.
Anybody else wants to follow us on Twitter, it's at howtoheretic.
Yeah, we're also on the Facebook.
We're on the Facebook every once in a while. That's another thing that Dan's got to fucking figure out and deal with.
Someday.
Thanks, Cody Layton, for editing the show.
Yeah, and thank you guys so much for tuning in. We adore you.
Yep. Bye-bye.
Bye.